The two masters, self and truth. Upon the battlefield of the human soul, two masters are ever contending. For the crown of supremacy, for the kingship and dominion of the heart. The master of self, called also the prince of this world, as the master of truth, called also the Father God. The master self is that rebellious one, whose weapons are passion, pride, avarice, vanity, self-will, implements of darkness. The master truth is that meek and lowly one, whose weapons are gentleness, patience, purity, sacrifice, humility, love, instruments of light. In every soul, the battle is waged, and as a soldier can engage the ones in two opposing armies, so every heart is enlisted either in the rank of self or of truth. There's no half and half course. There's a self and there's a truth. Where self is, truth is not. Where truth is, self is not. Thus spake Buddha, the teacher of truth. And Jesus, the manifest Christ, declared that no man can serve two masters, for either he will heed the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You can serve God and the Mammon. Truth is so simple, so absolutely undeviating and uncompromising, admits of no complexity, no turning, no qualification. Self is ingenious, crooked, and governed by subtle and sneaky desire, and maze of endless turnings and qualifications, and the deluded worshippers of self vainly imagine that they can gratify every worldly desire and at the same time possess the truth. But the larger truth worships truth with the sacrifice of self, and ceaselessly guards himself against worldliness and self-seeking. Do you seek to know and to realize truth? Then you must be prepared to sacrifice, to renounce to the uttermost, for truth in all its glory can only be perceived and known when the last vestige of self has disappeared. The eternal Christ declared that he who would be his disciple must deny himself daily. Are you willing to deny yourself, to give up your lusts, your prejudices, your opinions? If so, you may enter the narrow way of truth and find that peace from which the world is shut out, the absolute denial, the utter extinction of self is a perfect state of truth. And all religions and philosophies are but so many aids to this supreme attainment. Self is the denial of truth. Truth is the denial of self. As you let the self die, you will be reborn in truth. As you cling to self, truth will be hidden from you. While you cling to self, your path will be beset with difficulties, and repeated pains, sorrow, and disappointments will be your lot. There are no difficulties in truth, and coming to truth, you will be freed from all sorrow and disappointment. Truth in itself is not hidden and dark. It's always revealed and is perfectly transparent. But the blind and wayward self cannot perceive it. The light of day is not hidden except to the blind, and the light of truth is not hidden except to those who are blinded by self. Truth is a one reality in the universe, the inward harmony, the perfect justice, the eternal love. Nothing can be added to it or taken from it. It does not depend upon any man, but all men depend upon it. You can perceive the beauty of truth while you are looking out through the eyes of self. If you are vain, you will color everything with your own vanities. If lustful, your heart and mind will be so clouded with the smoke and the flames of passion that everything will appear distorted through them. If proud and opinionative, you will see nothing in the whole universe except the magnitude and importance of your own opinions. There is one quality which preeminently distinguishes the man of truth from the man of self, and that is humility. To be not only free from vanity, stubbornness, and egotism, but regard one's own opinions as of no value, this indeed is a true humility. He who is immersed in self regards his own opinions as truth, and the opinion of other men as error, but that the humble truth lover, who has learned to distinguish between opinion and truth, regard all men with the eyes of his charity, and does not seek to defend his opinions against theirs, but sacrifices those opinions that he may love the more, and he may manifest the spirit of truth. For truth in its word nature is ineffable and can only be believed. He who has most charity has most truth. Men engage in heated controversies and foolishly imagine they are defending the truth, when in reality they are merely defending their own petty interests and perishable opinions. The follower of self takes up arms against others. The follower of truth takes up arms against himself. Truth, being unchangeable and internal, is independent of your opinion and of mine. You may enter into it, we may enter into it, or we may stay outside, but both our defense and our attack are superfluous and are hurled back upon ourselves. Men enslaved by self, passionate, proud, and condemnatory, believe a particular creed or religion to be the truth, and all our religion to be error, and they proselytize with the passionate other. There is but one religion, the religion of truth. There is but one error, the error of self. Truth is not a formal belief, it is unselfish, holy, and aspiring heart. And he who has truth is at peace with all and cherishes all with the thoughts of love. You may easily know whether you are a child of truth or a worshipper of self if you will silently examine your mind, heart, and conduct. Do you harbor thoughts of suspicion, enmity, envy, lust, proud, or do you strenuously fight against this? If the former, you are chained to self, no matter what religion you may profess. If the latter, you are a candidate for truth, even though outwardly you may profess no religion. Are you passionate, self-willed, ever seeking to gain your own ends, self-indulgent, and self-centered? Or are you gentle, mild, unselfish, quit of every form of self-indulgence, and are ever ready to give up your own? If the former, self, is your master, if the latter, truth, is the object of your affection, do you strive for riches? Do you fight with passion for your party? Do you lust for power and leadership? Are you given to ostentation and self-praise? Or have you given up the love of riches? Have you relinquished all strife? Are you content to take the lowest place and to be passed by unnoticed? And have you ceased to talk about yourself and to regard yourself with a self-complacent pride? If the former, even though you may imagine you worship God, the God of your heart is self. if the latter, even though you may withhold your lips from worship, you are dwelling with the Most High. The signs by which a truth lover is known are unmistakable. Here the holy Krishna declared them in Sir Edwin Arnold's beautiful rendering of the Bhagavad Gita. Fearlessness, singleness of soul, the will always to strive for wisdom, open hand, ungoverned appetites, and piety, and the love for lonely study, humbleness, uprightness, heed to injure not, which leads truthfulness, slowness unto wrath, mind that lightly let it go what others prize, and equanimity and charity, which despise no man's faults, and tenderness towards all that suffer, a contented heart, fluttered by no desires, a bearing mild, modest, and grave, with manhood nobly mixed, with patience, fortitude, and purity, an unrevengeful spirit, never given to read itself too high. Such be the signs, all Indian prince of him whose fate is set on that fair path which leads to heavenly birth. When men, lost in the devilish ways of error and self, have forgotten the heavenly birth, the state of holiness and truth, they set up artificial standard by which to judge one another, and make acceptance of and adherence to their own particular theology, to test the truth. And so men are divided one against another, and there is a ceaseless enmity and strife and unending sorrow and suffering. Reader, do you seek to realize the birth into truth? There is only one way. Let self die. All those lusts, appetites, desires, opinions, limited conceptions, and prejudices to which you have hitherto so tenaciously clung, let them fall from you. Let them no longer hold you in bondage, and truth will be yours. Cease to look upon your own religion as superior to others, and strive humbly to learn the supreme lesson and charity. My own notes. I had to disagree with this because, Jesus Christ is the only true religion. So here, James Allen for short to universalism. At the time is a fashion that is learned from Oriental different philosophy and mysticism. So I think this book was written in the early 19th century. So anyway, but the writing of his has a lot of truth, and also in line with what the Bible teaches. Even have mixtures, so we need to be aware of those. And make a great distinction, distinguish, what is mixture from what is pure and holy. So anyway, any person does. No longer cling to the idea, so productive strife sorrow, that the Savior whom you worship is the only Savior. Yes, this is the only Savior, my comments. And that Savior whom your brother worship with equal sincerity the other is impostor. Well, that is true. So the Satan in all his forms appear to be angel lights is indeed an impostor. But seek diligently the path of holiness, and then you'll realize that every holy man is a savior of mankind. Well, this is a borrowed Buddhism and other notions. Indian mysticism, like before Buddhism, there is also some religion existing in India, and basically emphasize denying and eliminating self and the death of self, rather. So, which is common in most religion. But here again is my own comment. We need to stick to the purity and the holiness of the Word of God. Okay, the giving up of self is not merely the renunciation of outward things. It consists of the renunciation of the inward sin, the inward error, not by giving up when closing, not by relinquishing riches, not by abstaining from certain foods, not by speaking smooth words, not by merely doing the thing the truth found, but by giving up the spirit of vanity, by relinquishing the desire for riches, by abstaining from the lust for self-indulgence, by giving up all hatred, strife, contamination, and self-seeking, and becoming gentle and pure in heart. By doing these things is the truth found. To do the former and not do the latter is a Phariseeism and a hypocrisy, whereas the latter includes the former. You may renounce the outward world and isolate yourself in a cave or in the depths of a forest, but you will take all your selfishness with you, and unless you renounce that, great indeed will be your wretchedness and deep your delusion. You may remain just where you are, performing all your duties, and yet renounce the world, the inward enemy. To be in the world, and yet not of the world, is the highest perfection. The most blessed peace is to achieve the greatest victory. The renunciation itself is the will of truth thereof. Therefore, enter the path. There is no grave like hate, no pain like passion, no deceit like sense. Enter the path. Far has he gone whose foot treads down one found offense. As you succeed in overcoming self, you begin to see things in your right relations. He who is swayed by any passion, prejudice, like or dislike, adjusts everything to that particular bias, and sees only his own delusions. He who is absolutely free from all passion, prejudice, preference, and partiality, sees himself as he is, sees others as they are, sees all things in the proper proportions and right relations, having nothing to attack, nothing to defend, nothing to conceal, and no interest to guard. He is at peace. He has realized the profound simplicity of truth. For this unbiased, tranquil, blessed state of mind and heart is a state of truth. He who attains to it dwells with the angels and sits at the footstool of the Supreme, knowing the great law, knowing the origin of sorrow, knowing the secret of suffering, knowing the willful emancipation in truth. How can such one engage in strife contamination? For though he knows that the blind, self-seeking world, surrounded with the clouds of his own illusions, and enveloped in the darkness of error and the self, cannot perceive the steadfast light of truth, and is utterly incapable of comprehending the profound simplicity of the heart that has died, or is dying, to self. Yet he also knows that when the suffering ages have piled up mountains of sorrow, the crushed and burdened soul of the world will fly to its final refuge, and that when the ages are completed, every prodigal will come back to the fold of truth, and so he dwells in goodwill towards all, and regard all with that tender compassion which the Father bestowed upon his wayward children. Man can't understand truth because he clings to self, because they believe in the law of self, because they believe self to be the only reality, whereas it is the one delusion. When you cease to believe in and allow yourself, you will desert it and will fly to truth and will find the internal reality. When men are intoxicated with the wines of luxury and pleasure and vanity, the thirst of light grows, deepens within them, and they delude themselves with dreams of fleshly immortality. But when they come to reap the harvest of their own sowing, and pain the sorrow supervene, then crushed and humiliated, relinquishing self all the intoxications of self, they come with an aching heart to the one immortality, the immortality that destroys all delusions, the spiritual immortality in truth. Men pass from evil to good, from self to truth, through the dark gate of sorrow, for sorrow and the self are inseparable. Only in the peace and bliss of truth is all sorrow vanquished. If you suffer disappointment because your cherished plans have been thwarted, or because someone has not come out to your anticipations, it is because you are clinging to self. If you suffer remorse for your conduct, it is because you have given way to self. If you are overwhelmed by chagrin and regret because the attitudes of someone else towards you, it is because you have been cherishing self. If you are wounded on account of what has been done to you or said of you, it is because you are walking in the painful way of self. All suffering is of self. All suffering ends in truth. When you have entered into and realized truth, you will no longer suffer disappointment, remorse, and regret, and the sorrow will flee from you. Self is the only prison that can ever bind the soul. Truth is the only angel that can be the gates unroll. And when he comes to call thee, arise and follow fast. His way may lie through darkness, but leads to light and the last. The woe of the world is of its own making. Sorrow purified deepens the soul, and the extremity of sorrow is a prelude to truth. Have you suffered much? Have you sorrowed deeply? Have you pondered seriously upon the problems of life? If so, you are prepared to wage war against self and to become a disciple of truth. The intellectual who do not see the necessity for giving up self frame endless theories about the universe and call them truth. But do thou pursue that direct line of conduct, which is the practice of righteousness, and thou wilt realize the truth which has no place in theory, and which never changes. Cultivate your heart, water it continually with unselfish love and deep-felt pity, and strive to shut out from it all thoughts and feelings which are not in accordance with love. Return good for evil, love for hatred, gentleness for ill treatment, and remain silent when attacked. So shall you transmute all your selfish desires into the pure gold of love, and self will disappear in truth. So will you walk blamelessly among men, yoke with the easy yoke of lowliness, and clothed with the divine garment of humility. Oh, come, weary brother, thou struggling and striving, and thou in the heart of the Master of Truth. Cross drear desert, why wilt thou be driving a search for the quickening waters of truth? When here, by the path of thy searching and sinning, flows life, gladsome stream, lies, love's oasis green. Come, turn thou, and rest. Know the end and beginning, the sword and the searcher, the seer and the seeing. The Master sits not in the unapproached mountains, nor dwells in the mirage which flows on the air, nor shalt thou discover his magical fountains in pathways of sand that encircle despair. In Southwood's dark desert sits weary seeking the arduous tracks of the fate of thine king. If thou wouldst hear the sweet sound of his speaking, be deaf to all voices that emptily sing. Flee the vanishing places, renounce all thou hast, leave all that thou lovest, and naked and bare thyself at the shrine of the inmost caste, the highest, the holiest, the changeless is there. With him, in the heart of the silence he dwelleth, lives soul and sin, lives thine wandering soul. Come bath in his joy, whilst he, whispering, telleth thine soul, will it cease and wander no more. Then says, well, brother, thine struggling, striving, find peace in the heart of the Master Truth. Across of dark deserts, seas weary driving, come, drink at the beautiful waters of truth.